Okay guys, just like we left off yesterday, we're using either a sketching pencil or an ebony pencil. Either one of those is fine. This is a 6B sketching pencil, and I have those available for you at the tables. And I want you to just see some of the progress that I've made. So what I hope you can see here is the beginning of that middle horse starting to appear. That's the one I've just kind of hung out with here for a while. Now I know that I've previously told you not to lay in your dark, heavy areas. And I have actually started to do some of the darker areas here. But what I want you to notice is that I've been selective. I've really just done some small spots, like around the eye, the ear, the bottom of the jaw here, just so I didn't lose track of where I was on the animal. What I'm not going to do until the very end, look at this big dark area I have in the background in that negative space. That's going to be one of the last things I do, okay? So you will start to pick up some of those dark spots here and there as you work, for sure to make sure, so that you don't lose track of where you are and you're getting that range of value that you want to. You don't want it to all look the same medium gray when you're done. But just avoid doing those really big, bold, large areas of dark value until you have made a little bit more progress, because you're going to drag your hand through it and it's going to make a mess of your work, okay? So I would just continue. I'm just trying to hit on some of the medium tones. So maybe now I'll jump over here to this horse that's a little closer to us. And just like I showed you before, I'm really not applying much pressure here. I'm just kind of lightly pulling my pencil across the page. The tooth of the paper is going to pull that loose graphite off. And I'm using kind of a circular motion just to make sure I get an overall coverage, even though I'm leaving blank spaces. There's holes in my marks. There's white space showing through. That is okay. I'm just laying down a nice, fairly even tone. And then when I hit a spot where I feel like I need to go a little bit darker, then I can go ahead and go a little bit darker in that spot, just to make sure. Here's my eye, like I said, so I don't lose track of where I am on the animal. And if it's a light area, I'm just going to leave it alone for right now. I'm not going to add anything to it. And then those white spots, those are super easy to get rid of. The biggest challenge with this, guys, is to make sure you don't lose sight of where you are on your drawing. That's why those contour lines are going to be so important. Okay. And then the best way to establish a lighter area is to establish the negative space around it. So this is actually a little bit light here, so I'm going to establish the darker area below it, all along here. So I'm not outlining so much as defining my edges, okay? And I know that I'm going to go darker the further away from that top of the horse that I get. And even though I'm moving a little faster now, I'm still using a circular motion. I don't do a sharp back and forth. It might not look like it, but I never really stop. It's always kind of one continuous mark, okay? I do want to be careful along my edge. I want to try to contain the drawing within that box as much as I can. So I'll slow down there to make sure that I'm doing that well, okay? Now, there are times where having a pencil that's a little bit more dull is a good thing, because it gives you a wider surface area when you're covering a large section. But there are also times where you want a little bit more of a point, like when you're trying to create a texture. Sometimes that means you have to sharpen your pencil, but sometimes it just means you have to rotate your pencil. Let me show you what I mean. And can I get all eyes up on the screen, please? So I'm working along here. I'm doing a large area, so I'm going, I like the fact that I've got that dull edge, but what if I wanted to draw some more hair? Well, I'm going to rotate my pencil. I know it doesn't look like much, but I'm going to rotate it over to where I can get that sharper point. I've kind of created almost like an angled point on my pencil so that I can then choose, do I want a wide stroke or a narrow stroke? And so that's a good thing to be paying attention to, okay? Now I want to outline here this dark spot, or define it, I guess, so that I can tell where this dark part of the horse is going to appear, and match that up with my other horse over here. And remember, there are times where you don't even know what you're drawing. Like we said right in here, I might be working on the shadow of the first horse. I might be working on the shadow of the second horse. It doesn't really matter because they're the same value. It's like one continuation of the other. Always be thinking about the stroke and if it matches with the texture of the area you're working. Not all of you are working with something that has hair or fur, but if you are, it's a really good thing to consider as you're applying your tool, your brush or your pencil stroke, to make sure that it's matching with what the fur or the hair of that animal is doing. Okay, so this is where you really start to see some things popping out. We're looking a little bit more like an animal now. We're starting to see that variation. Every once in a while we can go in there and kind of blend it out. Don't worry about cleaning it up right now. Don't worry about erasing right now. Just be laying in media, and we can always come back later and use that eraser as a drawing tool to pull out those bright brights. Okay?